Okay, you're on.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Johnny Isakson, United States Senator from Georgia and a member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee in the United States Senate and former chairman of the State Board of Education in the state of Georgia. I'm delighted to join all of you on College Week Live to talk about opportunities in higher education, and we'll look forward to answering your questions. I've worked on education committees for 34 years in the Georgia House, the Georgia Senate, the United States House, and the United States Senate. I think education is the foundation for opportunity and success and prosperity in life, and I'm one that likes to encourage good accessibility for education as well as good affordability for education. And affordability probably is the #1 issue in America today, particularly with regard to higher education, whether it be university level education or technical education. Both are becoming more and more expensive, less and less reachable, and it's important that we be innovative so that higher education is reachable by every single American. To that end, Michael Bennett of Colorado, a Democrat, and myself have introduced competency-based education, a bill that passed unanimously in the House of Representatives and we hope will pass soon in the United States Senate, to speed up the process and let people who have developed competencies go ahead and move through the educational process quicker than they might otherwise, and to use past experience and skills as well as skills of attainment as a measurement of continuous progress towards a degree. There are many, many different types of students in America today. It used to be college students were people who lived in dormitories, joined fraternities or sororities, and went to college 3 or 4 hours a day, stayed 4 years, got a Bachelor of Science degree, and went into work. That's not the typical student of today. There is no typical student today because so many have to work at night or work during the daytime, go to school at night or go to school during the daytime, go to school part-time or work 1 quarter and then go to school 1 quarter. So we have to meet the needs of every student, and regardless of their ability and regardless of the different difficulties they may have. To that end, in the Clinton administration, I was pleased to be appointed to the Web-Based Education Commission, which did the first comprehensive investigation and analysis of web-based delivery of content, which today is a reality around the world. eArmyU, which was a byproduct of our work, now delivers college-level credits from 34 universities in the United States to our armed services overseas and their dependents. Many universities and state colleges, high schools, and even elementary schools today get their content via the internet and not via textbook. The internet is an innovative, interactive way to deliver content and deliver credit in a very competent and a very streamlined and a very effective and economical way, and I'm a big supporter of web-based learning and web-based development. I come from a state, the state of Georgia, that's done many innovative things in terms of funding education, most notably the Hope Scholarship, which allows every student that graduates from a Georgia public high school with a B average the chance to go to college with a full scholarship, as long as they maintain that B average, which is very important. It also allows people to go to technical school under the same requirements, and it funds the innovation of technology into the classroom, which helps us deliver content via the internet. It's a very innovative and affordable way to reach students, and a very positive way to make education more in the reach of every Georgian, which I'm happy to talk about and was happy to have been a part of. So I'd like to lead up to take your questions and answer your questions and open the floor for questions, and I'll be happy to respond to the first one or have my staff ask me the first one if they already have it.
Yes, our first question is, how can we make higher education more accessible to lower income and underrepresented demographics? Could the expansion of dual enrollment programs in high school be a feasible option?
Well, that's a great question, and dual enrollment is one way to do that, and that's kind of the competency-based education approach, where if a student in high school is progressing at a college level rate, they can take college level content classes while they're still finishing their high school degree and let those credit hours count toward their graduation. That makes it more affordable and more accessible. But there are many other ways to do it. Georgia State University in Atlanta, Georgia has created a thing called Panther Grants, which are financial assistance aids to those with low and moderate incomes, help them finish their college education, not graduate with a huge debt. Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, a private institution that is very expensive, has also developed a system where if you are academically qualified, but your net worth and affordability index is low, you can go to Emory University and they will guarantee you graduate with a college debt of $15,000 or less, which is a tremendous advantage. Stanford University is doing the same thing. Many of the top universities in the country now are forming endowments for students who are academically qualified but economically not qualified, and those are things you should look over and search for. There are many, many different ways to make college more innovative and more affordable, and we work every day to try and bring those improvements to the citizens of Georgia, and through my work in Washington, the citizens of the United States.
Great. The next question is, many students do not necessarily want to pursue a higher education, but can contribute their time and skill in a technical field. In what ways can we increase the emphasis on the importance of a technical school education and create an adequate amount of programs for students who wish to pursue a career in a technical field?
Well, that's a great question, because there are more jobs for technology-based knowledge today than there are academically four-year liberal arts college degrees. So technical education is an important component part of the jobs of the 21st century. My advice I give to all students who are looking to get a post-secondary degree in technical education is to focus on the STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and math. That's where the jobs are. That's where the technical schools are going to be focused on, and that's where you can best get your knowledge and education to qualify. Georgia, which is the state I know the most about, has one of the best adult and technical education systems in America that's merged together in many cases with our university system to have joint curriculum and joint educational tracks to work together to make technical education accessible to Georgia students. Technical education is where the jobs are in the 21st century. Also, it's where the retraining jobs are. You know, traditional students aren't just students who just graduated from high school and went to college. There are many people who find themselves needing a second career. They've gone through a first career, but that job went away, and they need to prepare themselves with the skills of the 21st century. So it's not just an 18-year-old high school graduate looking for a four-year degree, but it's many people looking to retrain or cross-train for the jobs of the 21st century. More often than not, those are in the technical-based fields in the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math.
Great. Your next question comes from Kara, and it's, what are the differences or advantages of public versus private higher education programs?
You know, both have distinct advantages. Both are advantageous because they promote academic learning and achievement for those in the post-secondary environment. Private education is usually, although not always, more expensive. Public education is usually, although not always, more affordable. But both are equally valuable in terms of seeking a degree and seeking a career in life. The most important thing is for you to seek out the public or private school that's most affordable for you and focuses on the content and the degrees that are important in the career you want to seek.
Okay. Graduates from STEM fields enjoy many career opportunities after graduation. Many underrepresented minorities and low-income students never pursue a STEM field. What can we do to help promote STEM to underrepresented demographics?
We need to do a better job, starting with the United States Senate, but going all the way down to local boards of education and state departments of education, to reaching out to our minority communities to let them know what is really available and accessible to them. You know, a lot of us who grew up in a two-parent household and had parents who had high expectations for us and were involved in our education, they would lead us and guide us towards the opportunities that would be available to us, and we knew what we were dealing with as we moved through the educational process. But in fact, those who come from single-parent households or households in poverty, that is not always the case. So it's important for public education to reach out and do that. In Georgia, we have a program called Prep It Up, which is where we take our top academically performing students from low and moderate income families, bring them to universities for a weekend, let them get a taste of the college life or a taste of the technical life. Exposure to opportunities is a tremendous advantage to get kids to expand their horizons, reach their goals, and reach their dreams. But it's education's job to reach out to those people and make sure they know what's available to them.
Great. What are graduates experiencing after college in the workplace and society? With the competitiveness in the job market, what tips can you give students like myself going into their freshman year to differentiate themselves from the rest of the population?
That is a great question, and I'll preface it by giving you a little anecdote. I was at a restaurant in Atlanta called Houston's about 3 months ago, was waited on by a very attractive waitress who was obviously very, very smart and very intelligent. During the course of the dinner, I asked her where she went to school. She said, "Oh, I've graduated from school." And I said, "Well, where did you graduate?" She said, "I graduated from a great college and a great university." I said, "What was your degree in?" She said, "Well, it was in English, but I can't find anybody that wants to hire somebody with a degree in English, so I'm waiting tables in this restaurant." And there's nothing wrong with waiting tables. Quite frankly, she didn't go to college to get a job waiting tables. She went to college to get a job focusing on English. The problem is the liberal arts majors in a world of technology-driven employment are not always at the best advantage. So if you're starting out your freshman year, I would say the following: follow your dream and follow your passion, But take the STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and math subjects, to have that in your curriculum and in your vita, because when you go into the private sector looking for work, they're going to look at your knowledge in math, your knowledge in science, your knowledge in engineering, and your focus on the STEMs will always help you. Be focused. Don't just look for a general liberal arts degree and think that's a pathway to a job. The most important pathway to a job is for you to accomplish a skill within the STEM subjects.
How is your Senate committee planning on helping with higher education and financing it?
Well, we've done a good job in the last couple of years of restructuring the student loan program to ensure that interest rates did not run away on our students. But quite frankly, there's not enough money in Washington to continue to expand the availability of access of credit to students. The student loan programs, the Pell programs, the field programs will be there. But as the cost of higher education goes up, the percentage of the education they pay for will not be as great in the future as it has been in the past, which is why it's so important for you to prepare for your education, save for your education, understand the different opportunities that are available to you. And it's important for us to do things that help the non-traditional student who works and helps pay for their own education to have access to quality content, and quantity of education.
Are there benefits going to a community college before transferring to a four-year, or do states have to set up benefits differently for that process?
Well, it would vary from state to state. In the state of Georgia, where we have the Hope Scholarship, our university system is literally full with students who go to school on a full scholarship, which means that the secondary schools, the secondary university level schools, are where a lot of people go, or the community colleges are where they go for their first 2 years to build their grades up necessary to transfer to a university. I'll give you my own family's example. My daughter Julie graduated from the public schools of Georgia in 1995, wanted to go to the University of Georgia, but because of the competition for students and the Hope Scholarship, she couldn't make the cut, even though she had a 3.5 GPA. So she went to a community college for 2 years, was on the dean's list every semester, and then went to the University of Georgia her junior year and did extremely well. So oftentimes community colleges are the stepping stone to a 4-year high-end university or a career.
Great. Our next question is, oftentimes veterans returning home from overseas have already developed skills that will be redundant in an undergraduate classroom. How can our veterans earn college credits without the excessive and unnecessary time of redundant learning?
Well, that's why the bill that Michael Bennett of Colorado and Johnny Isakson of Georgia have introduced on competency-based education is so important, because it would allow a returning veteran who has skills in technology and science and mathematics take those skills that they've obtained and get credit for them towards their degree without having to take redundant subjects. So competency-based education and letting that flow through to credit levels, credit hour credits in the universities is the key. That is a great question.
Many students are not informed in the process of acquiring and managing student loans. How can we educate and inform students of their options in the financial aid process from application to repayment?
Well, that also is a very good question, and I work very hard on the student loan program to make sure they do more and more to prepare students for the obligation of borrowing money. A lot of students borrow more money than they're capable of repaying, or they don't recognize the burden of repaying that money until they've already got an accumulated debt. I don't know exactly what the number is today, but if I'm not mistaken, and my staff can correct me, the average student loan debt is somewhere around $25,000 when the student graduates. That's a lot of money. If they're going on to post-secondary education, or they're going into a medical field or a legal field or something like that, they graduate with a debt of over $100,000. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of money to pay back. So I think it's important for the universities to help educate students as to how they pay back those obligations and the burden of those obligations. And it's important for us in Congress to see to it that we encourage good, disciplined lending practices in student loans, and see to it that our students who borrow are also students who are educated in the cost of credit and the obligation of credit. Learning how to manage credit is one of the most important skills you can learn, and quite frankly, in schools they don't do a lot to teach that. I can tell you as a businessman, I understand the time value of money, I understand the obligation of paying back debt, and I understand the value of debt financing higher education and higher learning. But there's a balance, and the balance should be that you don't borrow more than you're competent to pay back, and you work hard to see to it that you live within your means.
What values as a parent do you recommend to look for in a college as my child begins their search process?
Well, I think look to your child. You know your child's interests better than anybody else in the world. You know what their tendencies are. You know what their strengths are. You know what their weaknesses are. And I think I would look to a college or a university that fits those levels. For example, there are great universities in America that have 35 or 45,000 students, and there are great universities that have 12 or 1,300. You ought to look to the one that has the student mix that really fits the personality of your child, while at the same time offering the curriculum for your child or the type of career path they want to go on. I'll give you a couple examples. I gave the commencement address this year at the University of Georgia. There were 5,200 seniors graduating and 35,000 students in the school. That is a big environment in which to learn. The speech I gave at graduation was in Sanford Stadium, and there were 45,000 people at the speech. Those are the kind of numbers you're looking at. Whereas a year before, I spoke at Young Harris College in North Georgia, where there are 1,200 students. Spoke to that in a small high school gym, but the quality of education was equally as good. The environment at the smaller school was more hands-on and more personal than it would be at a larger university. So I think you know your child better than anybody else, and if you think they would function well in a big environment, go for the moon. But if you think the environment should be smaller and more student-centered and more one-on-one, then look for a smaller college or university. And it doesn't matter whether it's private or public. The most important thing is to find compatibility with the type of characteristics your student's looking for.
How do you feel about the use of career academies and apprenticeship programs for high school students or kids who may have dropped out?
Well, I'm a big supporter of second chances. When I chaired the State Board of Education in Georgia, I started the Career Academy program in our state, first with Noonan and Coweta County. It's now expanded across the state, where students who fall through the cracks, who aren't going on a college level track in school, instead of falling through the cracks and dropping out of school, have the opportunity to have a dual track, a work and learn program at the same time. There's a great program in Carrollton, Georgia, where Southwire offers 12 for Life, where 75% of the students they hire during the time they're in school getting their 12 for Life high school diploma end up becoming full-time employees at their company because they learn the skills necessary to perform at a high level at the Southwire Corporation. So I think those career academies make an outstanding contribution to students and are a great opportunity. In many cases, those people who learn applied technologies in school start off with higher paychecks when they graduate from high school or career academies than those that graduate from a liberal arts type of an environment. The state of Georgia is a great example of that, where a Georgia Tech graduate or a Southern Polytechnic graduate might graduate on the same day, but Georgia Tech graduate might actually not make as much as a Southern Tech graduate initially, because Southern Tech's in applied technology and Georgia Tech's in theoretical technology. Years go by, that will certainly go away, and the tech graduates will be the highest end payers that the university graduates. But don't ever dismiss applied technology versus theoretical technology, because learning a trade and learning technology from the ground up is a very important characteristic.
What more can we be doing to improve campus safety at this time?
Be ever vigilant. Campus safety is a tremendous challenge for big universities, small colleges alike. I remember when I mentioned my daughter Julie earlier, when she was going looking for colleges, it was a time in which there had been sexual assaults on a number of college campuses around the country, and my wife and I toured colleges with her to look at the ones that she would select from, and one of the ones that we chose had actually just installed emergency blue lights around the campus, where if a student was walking to class, it was after hours or it was late or it was early in the morning, there's an emergency button they could push within 100 yards of almost every pathway in every building in the school. That was important to have them that extra comfort that they could get help instantaneously if they need it. I think also the schools have to invest in the perimeter security necessary to see to it the students are protected. And students need to be smart. You know, I was a college student and I wasn't very smart when it came to safety sometimes. Sometimes I didn't wear a seatbelt, sometimes I drove too fast, sometimes I wandered off when I shouldn't have. So it's important for the parent to stress upon the child the importance of being aware of their own safety and security at all times. Safety and security is really a team effort. It's parental involvement, it's the student paying attention to what they need to do, and the university doing those things to protect their students.
I'm interested in interning in Washington, D.C. Can you tell me more about those opportunities?
There are lots of opportunities to intern in Washington, D.C., and every office will have different parameters with which you would have to qualify. I can only address mine to give you specifics, but we take college-age students from the state of Georgia in Washington. I'll take about 60 interns a year in any given year for period, and they will work on a 6-week period of internship. We select them based on a competition type of, just like anything else. It's based on curriculum. It's based on academic achievement. It's based on career goals and opportunities. It's based on enthusiasm. And it's based on a personal interview to see how really interested the student really is. But there are lots and lots of great opportunities in Washington. I could name countless people that started on an internship in Washington when they were just graduated from high school and then gone to college, and now have been 40 years later are still in Washington earning a great paycheck and having a great opportunity to help their country. So you call your local state congressman or your United States Senator's office. They'll have an application process. You want to call our office is 202-224-3643, and just ask for our intern program. We'll get the information to you. It's a great opportunity. I did it in Georgia when I was 18 years old. I worked for a state labor commissioner in a 6-week internship, and that kind of piqued my interest in public service to begin with.
Our next question comes from Jake. He says, how important are extracurricular activities like clubs and athletics to a student's success? Oh, ... almost forgot. Go Dogs.
Well, go Dogs. I'm a dog too, through and through. We lost last weekend. I'm still disappointed, but we're going to win this weekend. And the question was?
How important are extracurricular activities?
Right. Extracurricular activities are an important part of the whole person. I can tell you from our academic requirements at our 4 military academies, West Point, the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, and the Merchant Marine Academy. They look for the whole person. They want to see good grades. They want to see a good GPA. They want to see a good ACT or SAT score. They want to see community involvement. They want to see physical education competency. They also want to see if someone's a leader, whether it's through scouting, captain of a football team, a track meet, or track runner, or whatever it might be. So physical education and involvement in sports is a part of the whole person. And obviously students who are tremendous athletes may get a shot at a scholarship because of their athletics, but now the standards are getting higher and higher. They must have the academic qualifications as well. So my recommendation to everybody is focus on the whole person, focus on being a responsible person, a healthy person, a physically active person, but a good academic student as well.
Okay, we have about 5 more minutes. The next question is, some kids feel that a college degree is not as important anymore because of the debt associated with it. How do you address this?
Well, that's an interesting observation, but I would just counter by saying with the college degree, you have the capability to retire the debt. So it's really what you want to sacrifice for and pay for. If you get a college degree from a university or a college in the United States of America and you focus on a track where there's a good employment opportunity, science, technology, engineering, and math, medicine, the law, engineering, whatever it may be, and although it might take some debt to get the degree, you'll have the tools once you get the degree to make the income to pay the debt off. So they are not independent of each other. They're inextricably tied to each other. It's a very good question. Secondly, the value of a college education cannot be underestimated, whether it be technical or whether it be liberal arts. The numbers I've seen are that a college education versus a high school diploma is about worth $1 million during the lifetime of an individual, and that's probably about true. If you worked 40 years, that'd be about $50,000, or that'd be about $25,000 a year difference. And that's probably the difference in the pay level for a college graduate and a high school graduate. So I would say don't ever confuse a little bit of debt and a little bit of obligation for the college education to be a deterrent to getting a degree, because that degree can make every difference in the world.
Our next question comes from Samantha. How did you become a senator, and what did you major in college?
Well, that's a good question. I majored in business administration in college and went into business after I got out of the military, and had a 33-year career in business and enjoyed it very much. And my college education was absolutely instrumental in terms of me being able to be where I am today. In terms of how I got to be a senator, it's kind of a odd winding road. It's kind of a yellow brick road. I didn't start out wanting to be a United States Senator. I got married, we had a family, started getting involved in community activities, ran for a local office because we had some problems we were having in the community, lost that race, ran for a state legislative race a couple of years later and won. And one thing's led to another. I was able to serve in the legislature while I ran my business in the state, which gave me the time to learn a lot about my business as well, learn about politics. And then when the opportunity came to come to Washington in 1999, I ran for the House and won, winning the seat that Newt Gingrich resigned from in 1999. Excuse me. And then in 2004, replaced Zell Miller in the United States Senate.
This is the last question. Is taking a year off from school to work something that can be beneficial?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. The one advantage your generation has that my generation didn't. When I graduated from high school, we were at war in Vietnam. When I graduated from college, we were in a full-fledged war in Vietnam. There was no way a male student could take a year off and travel or work overseas or do something like that. Now we no longer have a draft. Fortunately, we're not in a conflict that's worldwide or concentrated like Vietnam was. I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Of the kids that I see that have that experience and that opportunity, which all three of my children did, it helps make them a better whole person. So I would encourage you to do it.
We have time for some concluding remarks.
Just make sure that when you take the year off, you're doing something constructive. Just don't stay at home and be a couch potato, but get out there and travel, get out there and learn, work an odd job, work a job in tourism or work a job in trade, or go overseas and backpack. Learn about the world around you and just be a whole person. As I've said in 2 or 3 of the answers I've given today, everybody in business and everybody in government and everybody in universities that look to bring students and admit them looks for the whole person. Your grades are important, but your extracurricular activities are important. Your demonstration of responsibility is important. Your physical health is important. The better whole person you are and the better rounded you are, the more opportunities you'll have in life.
Thank everyone.
Thank y'all, and thank you for giving me a chance to be a part of this great show, and thank you for the great questions.